Uh,
Now, I think.
okay, we are live. Hello and welcome to the sixth edition of the Kit Concept Office Hours. If you're new to the Office Hours and might be asking yourself, what the hell is this? This is our weekly series where we have a guest each episode giving you new insights to both Plone and the community. As always, every episode is live, every episode is open, and every episode is a chance for you to join the conversation. So, feel encouraged to ask any questions you might have right here in the chat, and you will get them all answered. Today, the person answering all of your questions about Clone 7 development at the upcoming Beethoven Sprint will be Víctor Fernández de Alba, tuning in from Terrassa, Catalunya. Nice to have you back on. Hey, Victor.
Hey,
Uh,
hello, Jacob.
hey,
How are you
so
doing?
I'm doing fine. I have a bit of an issue because I can hear myself with a 30-second delay from somewhere. I need to figure that out rather soon. But
Yeah,
so
life issues.
now I can hear you twice. This is also a bit of an issue.
Oh, crap.
One sec. There we go. Okay, I I shut the other stream off. That was bleeding in audio to me. So yeah, Victor. Even though this is your second episode already, there might, though I don't really think so, be some people watching who you don't know you yet. So would you please give a really quick introduction on who you are and how you're involved with Plone.
Yeah, I'm Víctor Fernández de Alba. I'm for Catalonia, Terrassa, Spain. Yeah, I am CTO at kitconcept. I'm also deeply involved in the community since gazillion of years ago. And currently I'm serving as a release manager of Plone Volto. And I am leading also the efforts towards the new successor of Volto, a new front end that we're building for Plum 7, which is codename 7. Yeah.
Nice. So, as I just said, we had you on already once, a couple of weeks ago, for the very first episode, actually, where you showcased the new editor coming up with Plate. Um, Today, we're doing a bit more of a technical session, I think. So, Victor, what do you have in back for us? What's the plan for today?
So the idea is that I think that there's something still that was needed in the community because we are having a lot of sprints last year and this year, and I felt that at some point it would be nice to have a guide, kind of a session for explaining potential sprinters attending to the sprints in person or remotely. That the purpose of this session is to teach the basics, the 101 of 7, and how to start right away, so you start being productive and start hacking right away when you join a sprint, right? Also identify what needs to be learned before attending, which are not much things. We will come to that later, but also know what to expect, right? I mean, what are you going to find when you put your hands in 7 and you want to develop and start contributing to the 7 uh, tasks.
That makes sense, yeah.
Mhm.
At the sprint, we don't want to spend half the week learning the basics. Even though, I mean, if someone's there who still needs to learn the basics, we're gonna get them up to speed real quick. But It's always better to come a bit prepared. Um, I'd assume most people watching, and especially the ones coming to the sprint in 1.5 weeks, are already familiar with Volto. Um, so my first question to you would be, what are the key differences? Is 7 just a bit different Volto or something completely new? And if so, in what ways?
Yeah, let me start from the beginning. Probably is a good question, and let me point you out to the documentation that we already have on 7. Let me share my screen so we can go together through it. Um, yeah, and I'd like also for us to share where you can find this documentation. You can find it in here in volto.readthedocs.io/7.
On
This is
screen
the
right now.
preliminary documentation. Yeah, sorry.
I just pointed out that it's shown on screen right now for people
Exactly.
to see.
Yeah. This is the preliminary documentation. Is a very alpha. Expect changes on that, but it's already quite exhaustive on the things that we already have in there. And yeah, one of the things that are here that we wanted also to point out is precisely the answering the question that you just did, right? Oh no, conceptual guide. So oh my God, yeah, conceptual guide, the 7 versus Volta, the key differences, right? And yeah, I will go quick through them. There are not so many. The first difference is that we are not using Redux, right? One of the most visible differences that between 7 and Volta is that we are not using a centralized store for storing the data, the data that we are grabbing from the backend. And because the framework that we are using already provides that. Let me also point out that 7 is based in a modern framework, very famous one, and one that is heavily being developed right now, which is React Router 7. And it has a huge community, and there's lots of documentation, and also I have to point out that AI is very good at it and it knows what it does. And then all the resources are also oriented in that regard also. So it has very good support overall. And the framework nowadays, and it's not something that it's React Router related, is that all the frameworks today provide this layer of data acquiring by themselves. So that's why we don't need yet another abstraction layer that does that data acquiring like the one that we had in Volto. So this is the first one, that we are not using Redux at all. We are using the framework itself, which is more than enough. Then one other thing to point out is that you could say, okay, but the Redux store used to do more than data acquiring. Yes, that's true. But it helped us to keep client state, but we are replacing that with a very also famous library which is called Jotai. And so in case that you need a client state at some point or application state in some point, you can use Jotai. And it's a very nice library, also supported and maintained and very easy to use. And we have huge fans of this library in the community. Then the next thing that I want to point out is that we are using modern React server-side rendering powered by React 19, which is another of the features that 7 has, right? I mean, we are using the latest version of React, which have a much nicer server-side rendering story than the one that we have in Volto. right? Volto uses an isomorphic setup powered by Razzle, which was a big framework back in the day to build React applications, especially the ones that had server-side rendering. And that type of frameworks, what it did back in the day, and what Volto does, is that you have an isomorphic application, which means that the same code runs in the backend and the same way that it runs in the client, right? So both sides are kind of synchronized, and they have to play well together. Right? That has some drawbacks that we experienced in the last years, but the trend in the latest frameworks is that this is totally split up right now. So you have the client bundle and the server bundle, and they normally don't share anything. And yeah, this is a good thing. I mean, we totally isolate one from the other. And this is also how React Router 7 works. Under the hood, you can do also manipulation of the requests and things like that, but always from having into account this separation. The good thing is that because of this separation, the backend API can be hidden. We have the ability of not exposing the backend API. Normally, you know that we have the plus API, access directly to the backend, to the Plone backend API for accessing the Plone REST API endpoints. And this has to be shared and has to be exposed to the outside because your client in Volto works with it directly. But this is no longer the true in React Router 7, and also something that happens in any other modern framework. Only the bundle, the server bundle, talks to your API, and then the server side and the client side have the meanings of talking together in a seamless way. So you don't need to define how the client and the server are going to talk. So this is given for granted, which is also a very nice thing of modern frameworks. So this is also very important. No backend API exposed, and that has a very nice outcomes, and that you will see right away. What else? We are doing TypeScript first. So we don't allow to use just JavaScript in 7. This has also obvious advantages, and also it makes our code more reliable from the very beginning, and this is a must nowadays. The foremost in React applications lately in the last times. Styling. We use standards-based CSS for styling. So modern CSS has evolved a lot. So we decided, as most of the community and all the ecosystem, that we don't need any more preprocessors. So we are encouraging people to use the modern CSS capabilities that all the browsers exhibit nowadays. And although Vite, which is the new bundler, can compile as CSS, less, and other syntaxes, 7 favors plain CSS to keep the pipeline simple. And this is also a very important decision, that we are not using preprocessors anymore. You can do nowadays anything that a preprocessor does. Another nice thing to point out is that we are using Tailwind CSS for the CMS UI. And this is a very thoughtful decision, because we don't want any CSS leak go into the CMS UI. And we decided that, so all components that the CMS UI are using are styled using Tailwind. And this is also completely detached from the theme, from the main theme, which you are in complete control of the decision of which CSS framework to use, or React library, component library. You can use anything. And then, because we are doing a very clear separation between the public UI and the CMS UI. And this is also very important. We can talk about it a little bit later. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, so I already did a bit of digging into 7. I actually didn't write any code yet, but looking at it, I noticed this, as Volto does as well, consists of a bunch of packages that together form 7. And as a developer with Volto, I from time to time struggle a little bit with knowing where to put what, especially when I'm developing new features. So a few things have changed with 7 there, I think. Could you maybe give us a quick rundown of those packages and what's in where, and I don't know, if is there a blocks package if I develop a new block, or if I develop a new widget, where does that go?
Yes, indeed. I mean, you're correct. In 7, we are trying to slice a little bit all our features. I mean, not only features, but also a separation of concerns, depending on what are we talking about. And this was a long requested feature, that you could not reuse some parts of Volto somewhere else. And this was a long running request. For example, people that wanted to use the editor outside Volto. And this was fair, right? I mean, you had some other use case, or you want a very stripped down version of editing your site, and you want to integrate it in some application that you already had, right? I mean, things like that. So we started by designing how we which packages, which features we could slice, so we could use them anywhere and in any application. And we started from the bottom, and we went up from there. In case that you want to learn more, there's this also section that is called Plone Front-End Modular Architecture Packages, and I'm going to go through it very quickly. I mean, don't worry, I won't bore you, but I'd like also to go a little bit through them, so you know what are we talking about, because it's important when you are developing 7 where things belong, as you pointed out, Jacob, because of this separation of concerns, right? I mean, if we are building a block, we certainly want to put that block in the blocks package. Or if we are building a new endpoint access or a new API for this endpoint, it will surely go to the client, right? Or if you're building a new component and you think that that component will be shared plenty in the CMS UI, then you will have to choose between this in the CMS UI or if it goes to Plone components, right? So let me go a little bit through them. We divided the type of add-ons or packages that we wanted to have in 7. We put it like in levels. So in the bottom, we have level 1, that are the core packages. And they are the foundation pieces that everybody builds on. These packages are compiled. Why they are compiled? Because we wanted to use them anywhere. For example, we have the Plone client. It's one of the type ones, and it's the JavaScript API client for the Plone backend. You could eventually use these anywhere, in any framework, in any JavaScript application, without any needs of having other dependencies or pulling other dependencies from 7 or from the Plone ecosystem, for example. And that's why this is a level one. So level one packages means that they can only depend on things on themselves, and with only one exception. This exception is the Plone types. We have a package that is Plone types, which is a very a complete different kind of package that are shared by all the packages, let's say. And this package contains the typings for all things Plone. Then Plone client and any other level one core packages cannot depend on anything else that is in the Plone namespace, but can only depend on Plone types. Is the only thing that are allowed. The other thing is Plone components, and the same things apply. So we don't want that when we are using Plone components outside 7, you pull in other 7 dependencies. For example, I mean, if I pull Plone components, maybe I'm pulling CMS UI also and the blogs and the theme. And that will be nasty because you will be bloating the build of wherever you are using them. So Plone components cannot depend on any other Plone packages, right? Because this idea still remains. You may want to use them elsewhere, right? And the same for the Plone registry. The Plone registry is the heart of the Bolto nowadays and from 7. Is the thing that orchestrates everything that is related with the build, related with the customization story, and related with the add-ons as well. So that's everything revolves around it. You could use Plone registry anywhere else. And this is the nicest thing about this package also, that you could use in a Next.js application. In fact, we have already some POCs, very nice POCs using Plone registry and add-ons in a Next.js application or anywhere else, because the Plone registry is agnostic and is auto-contained. You are not pulling anything else than Plone registry when you require it. So that's the thing about core packages. There are packages that I'd like to be able to use elsewhere and retain the whole features that are providing to the 7 or the Bolto ecosystem. I don't know if there's any question about core packages. We can
At
show
least
them
not
quick.
from my side, but let's take a
Okay,
look.
let's take a look, yeah, quickly at them because I think it's interesting. So yeah, it's the first time that we take a look at this. This is the checkout of the 7 branch. Maybe it's a nice moment to share, which is where you can find the 7 branch. The 7 branch, it lives in the Bolto repository, right? So yeah, you can go there and clone and take a look at it. The 7 branch has a very, very, very similar topology as the Bolto one has. So we have a packages folder, and inside this packages folder, you have all the packages that compose 7 in this case, right? We have also another special folder that we don't have in Bolto, which is the apps folder. In this apps folder, we have 7 itself. So what does it mean? That, for example, in Volto, we have Volto itself as a package. But these, maybe in Volto, it still makes sense because it's kind of a monolith. But in the scenario that we were talking about in 7, it made much sense to have 7 itself separated from the packages, because 7 is kind of the glue. 7 is the React router application that we are using to put all the things together. And as I said, it serves as a glue of the other packages. So if you take a look in here, this has the topology of a React Router 7 application. And this is the one that we are effectively running. So when you develop 7, you are bootstrapping this React Router 7 application. And if you are kind of familiar with how React Router applications work, it works like that. So they have an app folder. When in this app folder, you have several modules, being the most important module, the routes module. And then you have a React Router config where you can also configure the things on how the React Router behaves. And then, from that point of view, it works like a React Router 7 application, right? I mean, it's just like that. It has the dependencies of a React Router 7 application, right? Here, React Router and these others, plus all the things that we put around that, like all the Plone packages, right? And then other things like the JWT the code or other dependencies, right? But basically, this is a React Router 7 application. Let's back to the packages. So let's not branch too much on how 7 works for now, and let's show the client, for example. Here is the client code. And as I said, is a application. It's a package that is built. So every time that we make a change in the client, we should build it, because 7 itself is using the compiled version, not those things that are in source. A common misconception is that you make a change in some package that needs to be compiled, and then it doesn't do anything, right? And then you say, "Oh my God, where my changes go?" Right? And the thing is that until you don't compile it, you won't see the changes in the 7 app, right? Because 7 app is reading from the this folder, not from the source folder. And this is something that you keep forgetting. So I'm mentioning because it's kind of important. So the core packages, the level 1 packages, are all compiled, including Plone components. Okay. Yeah. I won't go very deeply on how the client works. Maybe it's because there's material enough for filling a single session on itself. But yeah, this is how it works. Another useful addition that we did last week, and thanks Piero for working on that, is that we added an agents MD to every package in this repo. FYI, we also did for Volto. So if you are developing in Volto, you can also find these agents and me, and then your agents will find these useful documentation, so they will be more efficient, use less tokens when doing tasks for you. This is for agents, but this is also very useful for direct documentation and guidance on how to work with things, right? So, I invite you to go there and read all of them, because they are very, very educational and
In
very
the end,
interesting.
you're also sort of an agent, right? When you're using this.
Exactly. I mean, this duality. It's also very interesting nowadays. That you are telling someone, this someone being it, right? But at the end, you are defining your own application in a very concise way, right? I mean, not in a narrative way. That's the change, I guess. But still super useful, right? Because it's very direct, very, very go to the point, right? And this is useful also to have, right, as a documentation. I won't go long, but yeah, it has, as I said, some useful things. Like, this is the entry point. You have to call initialize for going in there. Yeah, a very important thing is keeping this package framework agnostic, because we don't want anything from granted in here. We only want something that we can instantiate and then access our Plone site from there, right? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the other layers of packages as well, or
Yes, I want. Yeah, I just wanted to point out quickly the components and the registry that is in here. Uh, yeah, then they have also their own agent. So if anybody's interested, yeah, we can go through it. But yeah, let's move on and go to the next layer. So then we have the utilities package, which we call the level two. These packages provide tools and helpers, and they can depend on core packages, right? And other utility packages. What they cannot do is to rely on level three packages. So if you can see there is a relationship in this hierarchy, so you can never depend on something that is above, right? We have very easy two ones, the Plone helpers and the Plone React router integration. So in Plone helpers, you remember probably in Volto that we have a huge folder that was plenty of helpers. I don't know, you remember that, Jacob, from
I do, I
the,
do.
yeah. So yeah,
It's been a while since I've done lots of development, but yeah.
yeah. So one thing that we thought is that these probably will grow a lot, and that the helpers that are in there are also kind of agnostic in a way, not in an agnostic in a frameworkish way, but agnostic as in dealing with blown structures, data, things like that, blocks, topology, things like that. And that you could also have them, I mean, or you might want also to use them somewhere else outside 7. For example, in an Next.js application, because at the end they were managing these primitives, let's say, right? So we thought that it could be also useful to have them as a separate package. So that's why Plone helpers in it here. Level 2 packages are compiled, and this is also important because of that, because maybe we want them to bring them elsewhere, and the build process in that elsewhere, I don't know, it's so different that they cannot compile TypeScript. I don't know, for, I mean, very weird, but could be, right? So we didn't want also to rely on any build, external build for that. So that's why they are also compiled. If we do a quick thing, a quick look at it, so we have them in here. There are still a bunch, not much, but yeah, we have atoms, helpers. We have the unfamous flattened to app URL is in here as well, and we have other primitives. For example, the is empty. This is something that is very useful from Lodash, but purportedly, we 7 doesn't rely on Lodash because Lodash, it's a all library. It bloats your build, especially if you don't know how to handle it. Still they have some of the utilities that are not still part of the vanilla JavaScript nowadays, and we are backporting them in here bit by bit. But Lodash, almost 90% of it, you can nowadays use vanilla JavaScript to overcome these utilities that live in Lodash. So you can definitely live in a Lodash environment nowadays. But yeah, it's how it works. And then React Router has some other utilities that we needed. It's not big. It's yeah, some utilities that we needed for full integration with React Router 7.
We have
Should
not
we
a
go for the level
question.
3?
We don't have a
Yes.
question, but we have a comment from Rob who's saying that ES Toolkit is supposedly a great replacement for Lodash. Have you tried that one before?
He is correct. And in fact, he showed me because he did in Nick,
Uh,
he backported all Nick Lodash appearances by porting it to use as toolkit. And he showed me, I tried, there is a PR open in Volto because in Volto could benefit a lot from it. But I reached to a moment that we needed to really refactor things, and it will have take more time, and it's halfway. So if anybody, hey sprinters, if anybody is interested in this for Volto, the PR is halfway. Is I open that PR, look for my PRs. It mentions ES toolkit, um, replacement, whatever. I don't remember the name. But yeah, if anybody's interested, we can work during the Beethoven Sprint in that because it will be very nice. For as I said, also for now, I didn't have the urge to use anything out of vanilla JavaScript except for this, the one that I showed. Some small helpers that are 3 lines of code that are very
yeah,
useful, and we are so used to that to use the Lodash
makes sense. We don't
counterpart.
need to bring in additional libraries that we don't really
Exactly.
need and
For
don't need
example,
to
is
install.
empty is this. It's
Yeah,
2 lines of code, literally, right? And yeah.
makes sense to me. Um, you were talking about Beethoven Sprint right now. So
Yes.
I expect lots of people to come and work on seven there. And if people want to get started with seven already in preparation, you already mentioned the docs. Um, what would be the best way to start development? Just go to the docs and read through them. Or what would you suggest?
We have, I don't know if, yeah, we still haven't created the project, or we did. Yeah, but I don't
For
know.
Beethoven Sprint,
For
like a GitHub
Beethoven Sprint.
project, I don't think so. We really urgently need to do that.
In the next days, we will be open. It's something that we do always, right? That
Yep.
we open a project in GitHub. We drop in there everything that we want to work on during that sprint, and then people can grab it. We do have created blips for seven for a variety of things, and also tasks derived from those blips. And you can find them right now in the issues of Volto, but they will be in this project soon. I think that the last sprint that happened was the one in Bucharest. I guess that project is already open. So if you're interested and you want to hack right now, you can go there, search for the Bucharest Sprint project, and start hacking, and you will see that. But we promised that we will set up a GitHub project about for the Beethoven Sprint in the next days.
Yeah, we will do that. So the idea, once we have that, we'll let people know, and then you can already take a look at tickets that we want to work on. Um, Another rather basic question I had was, when developing Volto, the one of the main things you develop is blocks. How does that work in Seven? Has that changed? Um,
Uh, yeah, a little bit. We collocated them also in their own package. And yeah, the third level packages are, it's the ones that are part, Plone blocks is part of, because the third level defines what we normally know in Volto as add-ons, plain add-ons. Those plain add-ons are not compiled, and they are meant to be used only in 7, right? But we decided also to slice them a bit because at some point they could also be useful in other environments, right? And As I said before, some POCs has been done in the Next.js space, and we were using the same code base, the same Plone blocks that we are using for 7 in React Router 7 application in a Next.js application. So you can reuse them across frameworks, of course, React frameworks, right? But yeah, here is where Plum Blocks lies on, in this third level. And let's take a quick look at them. So we have them in here. And these are the blocks that we have developed for now for 7. We have the image, the teaser, the video, and the listing, I think. Yes. And how we develop them is the same way that we did in Volto, because what we are doing is preserving both the API and the schema, how we save things and how we deal with the settings in those blocks. We are rebuilding them from scratch because we want them to be more efficient and more performant, and using things that we were not using before. For example, in here, we are the teaser block, we are React lazy loading the view and the edit separately. This we could do in Volto, but we never did it. We will have to do it with loadables library. But in here, in 7, we can use it with plain React 19. Right, and there were also some small improvements that we want to push for, leveraging all modern things, but the underlying configuration, for example, is the same. So if you ever developed a block for Volto, you could see that these are very familiar. You have the ID, the name, how the block is named for, the proper ID, the title, which is the display name of the block, the view component, the edit component. We are adding a new thing, which is the category, which will help us to style blocks in a cohesive way, depending on categories. For example, all the text-ish blocks could have a common set of styling, and then we can group them in a sensible way also. We have the block schema, like we used to have in Volto, the icon, and we have all the config-based properties that this configuration have. As you can see, it's completely shared with the ones in Volto. We also have a schema defined in the same way here in a schema module that we do in Volto. In this case, this schema is returning an object, a direct object that has a JSON schema on it. It has some conditionals like the image does. It has some fields, the same as in Volto, basically. And you can use widgets in the fields, the same exact way like Volto does. This was the teaser. We can take a look at the components, which are also very similar. This is the teaser edit and the teaser view. Those components are also to be improved. It's not that they are finished and ready for prime time, but they do work like they used to work in Volt. Same for the listing. For example, the listing is halfway. We only have developed the display part, the view component, but it's there and it works, right? Yeah. Same for the image. One thing that we are doing in 7 is also to unify some conventions. For example, you might have noticed how we are centralizing in an index.ts inside the blocks folder the configuration of the block. we are doing this for tidying our code, basically. So if we have the block configuration all concentrated in a place, then it's far more easy to manage it and then refactor and everything. Then, for example, you import everything from you import the configuration from the image or from all the blocks, and then you configure them like this, like you were used to do with Volto. When you in Volto, you create a new block, you create blocks config dot the ID of the block, right? And then you put the config, which is this one. And you are importing it from the module I was showing a moments ago. So yeah, does this answer your question?
I think so. Do we have any Volta blocks left that have not been ported over to 7 yet?
Oh yeah, we have a lot. As you can see, we only have 4 blocks
Yeah, here
so
on
far.
on my screen it's a bit too tiny, but I think for the
Ah,
viewers on the
sorry.
proper on YouTube it's gonna be uh more easily
Yeah,
readable.
yeah, I can do it a bit bigger, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so there's lots of things in that regard to do at Beethoven Sprint in a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
Another topic I was interested in was theming. Maybe you could talk about that for a bit as well. And also,
Hmm.
quick reminder, it's just less than 15 minutes left for our 1 hour office hour. So to the people watching out on YouTube, feel free to ask questions in the chat. If you have some, rather ask them now than in an hour because by then the stream has already ended. But back to theming.
Yeah, theming. We have a default theme in 7. Although, as any version and in Volto, I mean, you need to have a vanilla theme. In Volto, we have Pastanaga and all that revolves around it. In 7, we have Agave. We have Plone Agave, which is this package. It's an add-on as well. And Agave is the theme of the public UI of 7, as I said, the default one. But this is not going to, I mean, Agave is meant to be replaced, right? I mean, you have 2 options, of course. I mean, you can build on the top of Agave, right? And Agave is also thought in a very thin way. I mean, we are not dropping a huge theme like we did in other Plone versions, right? And like in no Barceloneta in Plone 5, or Pastanaga with semantic UI in Plone 6. So in Plone 7 we committed to not fall into the same uh, pitfall, right? And then make the default theme very thin, and even be possible to remove it completely and start your own from scratch. And think about this as always in 7, the separation that I mentioned in the beginning, that in 7, the separation between the public UI and the CMS UI is very, very specific, right? It's in there from the beginning, and we are very careful that this separation still stands, right? And what does it mean? That when we are doing a theme, we are doing it for the public UI always, always. And this is also key, right? Because all that is in the public UI side will be themed by this theme, right? But then everything that is CMS UI, meaning the blocks editor and everything else, will remain unstyled or with the Quanta styling that is the default for the CMS UI. And you will have the chance also to modify Quanta if you need that, right? But the main idea is that the CMS UI, you normally don't touch it or doesn't touch more because it's CMS UI, and at the end, it's the managing content UI. But then the rest, which is the public UI, how you style and theme your blocks, they have to be public UI, right? So you, as I said, Agave is very thin, so thin that, yeah, maybe I can show you as an add-on. It doesn't even have configuration for now. And for styles, I mean, we can go through it, but it's this. I mean, it doesn't have anything else, right? I mean, okay, granted, I haven't told you that Agave by default is Tailwind, right? So you don't really need a lot of CSS to make Tailwind things look nice because you are using already Tailwind utilities, right? But what I wanted to remark is that Agave will be Tailwind. That doesn't mean that your theme has to be Tailwind. It can be anything that you want. But by using Tailwind, you can do things very quickly. And that's why the default, we decided to be Tailwind. And in case that you need anything else more complex, or you have your framework, your choice, or you are forced, because we know that people are forced to use specific React components or libraries, like, I don't know, React Bootstrap, things like that. The idea is that you can remove Agave and put your theme on your own completely, and then build your components based in your React library and style your public UI with the React library and the CSS framework of your liking. So that is the whole idea, that theming will be completely pluggable. You want to build upon on Agave, then you can. You can remove Agave completely, put your own Tailwind story. You can. You can remove Agave and put your whole CSS framework and your React components. You can also. So you are not limited by anything. That has also some consequences, right? Because we wanted to maintain things also agnostic in a CSS way. And I told you before that we also decided to go full standard CSS, modern CSS. And because one could say, okay, but then the header or the default header, then you did it in Tailwind? And the answer is no. We decided not to style the slots with Tailwind, but in case that you want it, you can. But the default slots, which they live in Plone layout, which is another add-on, layer 3 that we have. For example, this is the header, and it's not using Tailwind. It's using plain CSS, because also this agnostic thingy. So imagine that you are not using Agave. You're not using Agave, but you still want to use the header. And all of a sudden, the header forces you to use Tailwind. That won't be right? So we decided that the default slots are Tailwind-less, are also agnostic, and they use CSS modules, so they are loaded also on the fly. And you can see it in here in work, right? So this is also a very important thing and design decision that we took back in the day. And it's related with theming, and that we want this system that is super pluggable, and you can bring your own theme, your own story, and you can still work and anything. It won't layer upon anything, because one of the main problems that we do have in the community since long time ago is that we are building our projects upon this vanilla theming and having that CSS leaking everywhere in our theme. And that's a burden. And we decided that we didn't want to have that burden anymore. That's why we design it in this way. And probably I talk too much about this, but you can tell that I am
Absolutely not.
I get excited about it.
That's the awesome bit about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at time, I think it's pretty much time to wrap things up. Anything from your side that remains to be said, Victor?
Well, a lot of things, I think. Yeah, I wanted to also mention about the glue thingy that I mentioned, which is the app itself, right? The seven app itself that works exactly the same as Volto, right? But that will also take another half an hour, maybe, probably.
Maybe
Maybe
we
we
can
can leave
talk
it for
about that
another session.
next week, or
Yes,
you
sure.
can explain that in person to people at Beethoven Sprint.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the chance here to once again advertise the upcoming sprint. Only 1.5 weeks left. Um, you can still register at the website here, or in case you, for whatever reason, cannot come to Bonn but want to join the sprint, we always offer the opportunity to sprint remotely as well. I think we've had remote sprinters for at least the last 5 years, so that's an option as well. And if you have any questions related to Seven, um, feel free to reach out to Victor. Questions regarding the sprint, uh, you can ask me. And I hope to see you all next week at the office hour, I guess, and then 1.5 weeks later, or half a week later after that, over here in Bonn. So, and especially you, Victor. Super glad to have
Yeah.
you back here.
Very looking towards it. Yeah. See you there in week and a half. Yeah. I mean, yeah, soon
Yep.
enough.
See you there. Bye.